Alright everybody, on this episode of Why This Matters, we're going to break the world record on explaining why the importance of something in the gaming community matters in 3, 2, 1. Wow everybody, we did it! World record! Okay, jokes aside, on this episode, I'm taking a break from making a video on a singular game and more of a core aspect of gaming that's grown in popularity within the last 10 years. And today, the topic is going to be speedrunning. We'll be looking into the history of speedrunning, speedrunning effects on culture within video games, and speedrunning and how it's grown over the last decade. So take a seat, hop on the hype train, and let's enjoy this episode of why speedrunning matters. When doing research on this topic, I saw there wasn't much of an overview on speedrunning within the gaming communities. There are videos on how to do speedruns, there are videos on speedrun records, there are videos on the first speedrun ever made, and there's even a video called Why Speedruns Matter, but it more tells the story of what got speedrunning started and not the importance of it or why it has much relevance other than the guy playing Ocarina of Time pretty much set the pace for what speedrunning is. And with that little knowledge and such little depth going into this topic, I'm going to be making a video about why and looking this into more of a deeper level from the perspective of a almost 40-year-old gamer. If you like the content, consider subscribing. I appreciate it. These take time. I'm hoping to make this something more than a side hobby, but I enjoy making these as well, and I enjoy making them for you guys, so thank you. Alright, so to start this off, let's look into what speedrunning is. Speedrunning is a subculture of gaming where players attempt to complete a video game as quickly as possible using various techniques, tricks, and strategies. The goal of a speedrun is to finish the game in the shortest amount of time, often exploiting glitches or unintended features to archive the fastest completed time. Speedrunners often study a game extensively, learning optimal routes, precise movements, and efficient strategies to minimize the time it takes to complete specific objectives or levels. They may also use tools like timers and specialized software to track their progress and compare times with other players in the speedrunning communities. That was directly taken from online, but it sums it up pretty well. Speedrunning is a subculture of gaming. Players craving more out of their games. By accident, when I was a young child, around 9 or so, I accidentally was speedrunning Mega Man X as an attempt to add extra challenge to this game because I could beat that game relatively easily. There wasn't too much difficult for me to beat the game in under about an hour or so. I could get all the power-ups, I knew where everything was. It's what happens when you play or do something for over 40 plus hours. But any form of media, I started to get bored with it. The base game doing the same run, same boss order. I even challenged myself by beating Boomer Yowanger first because I liked his stage the most. I was like, if I can beat his stage with no dash, then cool. So I am posing personal challenges. That was one of them. And one of them I decided to do was beat the game as fast as possible. I set up an alarm clock next to me, just like a red, boring, basic clock, started it at a particular time, and was using it to map my gameplay. And I ended up with a personal record, again, I was 9 years old, with about 46 minutes. This is not a world record, but for me at the time, in front of my small little box-like TV, this was amazing. And the premise is that I developed this challenge. I gave me a lot of pride for such a mastery of this game, this thing, and being able to beat it not only traditionally, but with these extra difficulty imposed onto myself. That's an aspect of speedrunning that I think a lot of people enjoy. Now, this is back also when there were limited abilities to express additional challenges other than human-made ones, but way before the internet.
Jack into SegaNet through your Dreamcast console and join your countrymen in the virtual arena.
I mean, one could argue that the Dreamcast had internet capabilities to download DLC like Jet Set Radio, for example, but that was really rare. Nowadays, every game has DLC that connects online, where you can get half the game for $70, and then you have to buy DLC, which has extra content, but back then, that wasn't a thing. For a game player to avoid acquiring gamer burnout because the content was limited to whatever was on the cartridge or CD at the time, and the internet was in its baby stages. Speedrunning was an external challenge that players could impose on the game to spice up the gameplay, because games in the 80s up to the mid-2000s were locked into what you bought. Everything in the box was all the content, so if the game was great, there was a lot of additional content. Maybe if you got lucky, like sound mods, or maybe a secret skin or an extra ending. That's about it. Very rare occasions it came on with additional add-ons, like for example the Sonic and Knuckles add-on for the Sega Genesis. Back then, the video games you bought were 100% complete in box. What you got was what you had. Yeah, so before the internet, DLC was rare. It also is why, when a game did release, it needed to have all the extra content added within the game itself. There was no post-content, no skins, just base game was it. And because of that, there was no real way to play a game or to get better at it other than selecting the hard difficulty. So what more to do? Well, speedrunning was invented. A simple way to impose a challenge on a video game, and then spice up the gameplay in an original way. This is nice because I can say from personal experience, from playing my favorite games, RE1 and 2, Parasite Eve, Brave Fencer Musashi, Final Fantasy VII, Mario RPG, the list goes on. I sometimes struggle playing these games because I tend to play them the same way over and over. I get the same power-ups, I know where all the secrets are, I know how to upgrade the weapons to be the most efficient, I have my favorite methods of beating bosses, and well, speedrunning itself has given birth to a couple of things. One of the most popular formats of streaming is video games. By building communities through playing games, it allows people to enjoy other people's experiences and kind of resonate building communities, which is fantastic. And speedrunning is a great way to feature a rare skill in something like a video game within the Twitch community, public platform to show anything. Gamers such as Bakba's Soup, whose whole careers have been built on the aspect of speedrunning, wouldn't be where they are today without that constant grind of showing off how good they are at a certain game, which led them to their popularity to this day. You can look onto Twitch, and most gaming feeds have a timer. If you go onto Twitch right now, I can almost guarantee you that most of those feeds are going to have a timer in the top right, top corner, somewhere in one of the corners, showing you their splits, seeing how fast they can beat a certain segment that they're practicing on. With them talking about skips and splits with a goal of getting the personal best time. And surprisingly, it's a lot of fun to watch. The excitement when a player grinds a game, expressing their skill and RNG luck with beating a hard moment in a game that they've practiced. This level of poggers moment is something similar to watching a pro player score the winning game point in sport.
Toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
And it's awesome because these events are recorded due to it being featured on a streaming platform. You can go back, you can rewatch this, you can see how they executed that, and you can learn those skills yourself and thus improve your own gameplay or develop a cool trick or skip that can help beat something you might have had struggles with. So you can learn and improve from the run and possibly beat those previous records. And yes, speedrunning has world records. In addition to having world records, you can also play a different variety of categories for speedrunning as well. For example, any percent where you beat the game as fast as possible, 100% where you beat the game with getting everything, glitch percent where you can beat it using ridiculous glitches, low level where you beat a game as the weakest possible, max level where you grind to get the fastest level possible, worst ending to best ending, all sorts of categories, and there's more. Some I can't even imagine. All of these have their own tech, their own way of play, and their own skill base that reflect players' abilities and what they enjoy. And if a player gets bored of a category or bored of a game, they can just try the same game but with a different variation, a different category, and re-enjoy the same experience with the new challenges. It's like, why? Okay, I mastered 100%, I have the world record now. I want to beat it using glitches. Totally different tech involved. Pretty amazing. It's quite amazing on how one game can be played and beaten. I challenge you to do something. I want you to challenge a speedrun. I want you to go play Metal Gear Solid 2 on European Extreme and beat the game in under 2 hours. Yes, the 25 boss raid battle is part of that. I'm kidding, don't do that. But it's just an example of skill involved of mastering these games and the different categories of how one can really enjoy watching somebody beat something this difficult, a game that is designed to be this hard in under an hour and a half. So speedrunning has built communities and has made some people famous and brought people together for a fun community aspect. That's great. But what if I told you speedrunning has done so much more? I know, right? And there's more! GDQ, or James Done Quick, is a game community that's featured a few times a year where the best of the best get together, where speedrunning champions showcase their skills in beating games quickly, as the name says. However, this event is also a charity event where people donate money for incentives, like changing the names of the main character of a game, or picking the ending of the game. You better save those animals in Metroid. You know what I'm talking about. And the event's primary goal is to support Doctors Without Borders. Doctors Without Borders is a humanitarian medical organization that provides medical care to those in need, particularly those in regions that are affected by conflict, epidemics, or natural disasters. These events started out quite small, with just a few short cases of players, but now growing into a multi-million-dollar event, where the most recent GDQ earning over $3 million to help people. This is phenomenal for just a group of people playing video games quickly to earn this much money consistently to be donated. It's quite amazing. This event features new and old gamers of all groups and all games and types. This event is huge in viewers, and it's the sole purpose to helping those in need. Video games and making a difference. Now, that's something anybody can get behind. Playing games to help the world. Overall, speedrunning is more than just a way to play a video game, but for some it's a way of life, and they thrive on the struggle and challenges and then grow from beating something difficult, from doing something that might have been considered impossible, but also reliving an experience of something that they truly love or enjoy in just a slightly different variation that brings fresh air, brings life back into something that might have been dull, something that they might have finished or beaten or completed many, many times. So that's why speedrunning matters. So I'm genuinely curious, what's your thoughts on this? Do you feel similar opinions towards this idea? Do you think indifferent? Is there something I might have missed? Or let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Thank you for praying.